My name's Aaron. Welcome back to my channel. How are you? I'm fantastic and I'm doing really well. Today I am reviewing Viktor and Rolf Spicebomb Eau de Toilette. This is £50 and 15p for 50ml, and that boots it as a saving of £8.85. Fantastic. The notes are bergamot, grapefruit, cinnamon leaf. The heart notes are lavender, pimento berries, saffron, elmley, and pink pepper. The base is vetiver, fir balsam, tobacco accord, and white leather accord. Do we have our bottles of Spicebomb? Are we engaged with our higher self? Let's get testing. So in this spiel, it has meet your latest addiction, Spicebomb Eau de Toilette. Viktor and Rolf's explosive man's fragrance, a weapon of mass seduction. Pull the trigger to experience a highly addictive scent. Brace yourself in strong spices, sensory contrasts, and a woody trail. Be engulfed by a fresh and zesty perfume of bergamot and grapefruit, whilst cold spices, elmley and pink pepper leave their icy bite. Experience a heart of incandescent spices, chili and saffron, which develop into a masculine base of leather and tobacco fused with vanilla, with strong and woody vetiver. So I've been asked to review this. I have never reviewed this. I'm unsure whether it's been reformulated. Please leave your comments below if it has. So I read Spicebomb was created by a young perfumer, and this is sort of background reading. It has a distinctive smell. Within the formulation, it's talking about pink, pepper, and elmley. Elmley is used to support citruses and give dryness. So we'll see. So these sort of mass appealing fragrances, I think, are the most difficult to develop for about this price range. They've got to kind of do everything, and you get one go. And what we've noticed when we're shopping for them is, even still, I don't know why they're applied to the perfume strip and you have that smell, and they've got to vibrate off the testing strip. And then when you apply it to the skin, you've got to have that initial blast. And the blast is what gets people and releases endorphins and makes people feel like super fantastic. This is doing it. This is a very interesting formulation. It's based upon musks, and musks that are utilizing the different aspects of the formulation. This is not heavily based upon Hedio and ISV Super. This is based upon clean white musks, like the galaxolide, which is heavy, strong, gives a clean finish to it. Ethylene brassylate, which is giving sort of vanilla feel. And then to give that top note, to support the top note, using one of the linear musks. And linear musks are the newer type of musk that haven't been around, and they're not derived from the structure of the deer musk. They're completely separate. And the linear musks are a different shape. And you have 4 different types of musks. And generally they're a carbon structure, carbon ring structure. And the more you build onto them, you give a different effect. You have nitro musks, which are more animalistic, multi sort of ringed musks, which are quite heavy. And then you have the one structure musk, and then you have the new musk, which is these linear musks. Linear musks work at the top of a formulation, and they're in the same sort of category as hebetalide, romanolide, apolide, I think that's another one. And they work at the top, and they give, like, depending on where the structure is, where the functional group is, the ketone group or the oxygen group will depend on what they do, which is, I find, very interesting. I always find that extremely interesting, how human beings think about a fragrance, and it's to do with the musks. A good perfume generally has 3 to 4 musks within the formulation working in synergy, and it's the starting point of perfumery. Depending on what feel you want will be depending on where you go with the musk, how long you want it to last, how expensive you want the formulations to be. Some musks can be very, very expensive, the more sort of structurally complex they are. But going back to this formulation, this is a mixture of primarily the 3 types of musk working in synergy together. This is using one of the romanolide like raw materials, which is sort of slightly fruity, and it's given that fruity top, slightly ambrette feel to it. So this is slightly clean, berry-like. Within these sort of formulations, you are having obviously the grapefruit, which is the methylpamplemousse, the linalool groups, all that sort of stuff to give lift. But you have the sweetness, vanillin, ethvanil, and coumarin, and that is quite an addictive smell. quite addictive sweet smell, but it can smell messy. It can smell very dense and very, very heavy, and you always need to elevate it. And that's why Elmley's been used within this formulation. And Elmley has been used to clean it all up and give real clean tartness to the formulation. Got some sweetness to it from acetates, helping to give elevation. And acetates can give sparkle and can give a finish to a formulation depending on what you want to do. You have apple acetates, fruit acetates, and they generally work and they can give sparkle and effervescence, and that's what's happening here. On to my final thoughts. Surprisingly, I do like it, but it's very fleeting on my skin and it leaves a very clean, soapy finish. Very light, very airy, not much denseness to it. It is utilizing raw materials in a novel and creative way where you are not working with hedione and isosuper and hedione and then musk. You work on a backbone of rigid musk. This is somebody who really, really knows what they're doing, and I think it's very exciting professionally to have somebody who's doing something very different. So I'm going to go through my final thoughts and my final marks. The price, it's an EdT, absolutely worth the price, like £60 for 50ml. The box, safe, legal, compliant, and I want to go through a few of the raw materials. It might dispel some sort of fear about these raw materials. So what I want to say first before I say this is that people can be allergic to anything. People can be allergic to alcohol, people can be allergic to naturals and synthetics. You never know. That's why it's important to read the back. You have raw materials, methylcinamates, and methylcinamate is a UV protectant and that stops the fragrance from oxidizing. You also have something called BHT, and BHT is a really industrially important chemical because it keeps your citruses lasting longer. And citruses, when they oxidize, they just don't smell very nice. You don't want an oxidized lemon or pink pepper. They can smell, the oxygen is attacking the oxygen groups, keto groups, kind of whatever is on it. You really don't want that. You want to keep it fresh. BHT is going to keep fragrances fresh for longer. They're not going to damage the skin. BHT does not have the ability to penetrate into the skin. The toxic levels from these raw materials is when you eat it. And I would not suggest you eating fragrance, but you don't have to be a genius for that. I'm going to mark this an 8 out of 10. The price is excellent. It smells clean, fresh. I love the sort of the coumarin and the vanilla molecules, and I love how it smells different, unique and innovative, but it's not very strong for me. I think to make it beast-like, people need to work around it in a slightly different way, but then the price goes up, and that's what you're always sort of judging. So if you love that review, thumbs up and subscribe for fascinating, interesting content. Lots of moving hands, lots of fragrance views. Hope you're staying safe and well. See you soon.